in the Liège English congregation. And Brother Parrott, I'd like to ask you more or less the same things. Could you relate to us some adjustments that you had to make in your secular job, your employment? And maybe also sometimes we have to give up lucrative opportunities. So in which way did that apply to you?
Yes, a few years ago I've been hired as a representative by a company as a part-time worker. But rapidly they desired me to work more than the number of hours required by my contract since I was paid by commission. So they asked me to take appointments with customers in evening time and weekends. I liked that job very much, but such schedule would conflict with my meeting attendance and my pioneer schedule. So I decided to work as for Jehovah, namely to be a hard worker, but to continue putting the more important things first. What helped me was to consider my meetings as appointment already taken with Jehovah, and we don't cancel an arrangement with a customer to take one with another. So after a while, they used another method. They gathered some of my commission that were not yet due to me and paid them all in 1 month. So that made a large sum of money. And they told me, you see how this job can be rewarding if you work it? We don't hate having money.
No, of course not.
But this has not changed our determination to stick to our pioneer schedule. I say we because my wife has proved really supportive in this matter, always keeping a simple eye. After that, the method changed again, that time by trying to put a spirit of competition with my colleagues, letting us know that the job was at stake. I had really to trust Jehovah heavily, doing things His way and waiting for the outcome. I always met more than the requirements set in my contract, but they found fault with me because though working more than what was required, I didn't work as much as they liked.
Right. So what was the outcome of all this?
After a frank discussion, we put an end to the contract. But I found a new job just after that, not even having to ask the social help for unemployed people. Few months after, I learned that that company went in bankruptcy with problems for the employee to receive their salary. But more important, I've been able to keep this difficult balance between secular and spiritual matter. This experience has really strengthened my reliance on Jehovah and my determination to do things His way.
Thank you very much, Brother Parrott. Surely appreciate it.
Mr. Almasens and Brother Micha Comera. Of course, it's obvious you are no longer in the teenage years, 20 years, but it means you survived the teenage years. And we as parents, we realize, that's spiritually spoken, we realize that it's your personal commitment at one side, but also your parents must have helped you with that. And we would like to know, how did that go? And can you tell us something about the family study at home?
Well, yes, of course, we had a regular Bible study. Usually it was on Wednesday afternoons when my father came home from work. And I remember that also we had lots of fun because, for example, when I was very small, we acted out scenes from the Bible storybook. And it's still very vivid in my mind. For example, the story of the plagues on Egypt, and my father was playing the Pharaoh, and then I had to be Moses. So we were...
But you were one of the plagues.
Thank you. So we were having fun, at the same time we were learning.
And what about you, Michael?
My mom, she discussed listening to the great teacher with me. So I remember that I was listening to her when she was drawing attention to those pictures in the book. So when I go through those pictures, I can still recall those moments. But also we had a family study every Tuesday evening. And then the whole family was sitting around the table discussing the Watchtower articles about Jesus' life and ministry. My daddy had taken copies of those stories, and also he had made questions, and there were always questions among them that had to do with our personal life.
Yes. Now, often we are using the expression and the common pitfalls of the teenage years. Now, how did your parents help you to come through these years?
Well, it was the habit to eat the evening meal together as a family. And it was the time for my parents to ask how our day had been at school or whether there had been any problems. So, in fact, it was a time for us to talk. And also very regularly on Wednesday evenings, the TV was put aside, my mother made a cup of tea and we played games. And often, since the atmosphere was very relaxed, we started talking about problems we had at school or other problems. So it was really a time for talking. And also my parents always encouraged me really to be open and to say whatever was in my mind. How about you, Micha? Was it the same in your case?
Not really, because later on my dad lost somewhat his interest in the truth, so my mother had to take over the responsibilities of caring for the spirituality of the children. But me and my mother, we went through the whole range of desires incidental to youth, as Paul calls them, by means of the Young People Ask book. I also have the advantage of my personality. I'm very open and honest when I don't feel really good about something. So also toward my mother, if things had been wrong, I had often heart-to-heart discussions with her.
Yes. Now, I remember, of course, that during the teenage years we are all vulnerable and at the same time sensitive. Vulnerable for the problems around us, but we also need friendship. You can't go through life without friends. Now, did your parents or how did they help you making the right decisions and choices, Micha?
Well, I remember I used to be very absorbed in music. Not just the radio, but I also had a synthesizer. Now, that in itself is not wrong, of course. But my mom, she knew that it could pose a problem, so she made a law. You only play on Sunday evenings, which I did, from 5, 6 o'clock in the evening until early next morning.
But I remember you were not just playing, you were also composing, I think.
Yeah, I was making music for myself and recording and mixing and everything. But so I was so absorbed in music that even in my mind I was making melodies when I had to do more important things instead of that. For instance, in the field service, because I was pioneering at that time, I started when I was 15. So when I was even preaching, I had to make my introductions, my conversations with people very short, because then the faster I could go back to the music I was making in my head. So it was really some kind of mental double life that I was leading.
And how did you cope with the problem then?
Well, my mom, I had discussed it with her. As I said, I wanted to get rid of that bad conscience that I had, so I spoke about it. But she also informed a special pioneer in our congregation, and I'm surprised that he is also among us today. But his suggestions, and also my personal prayers about the matter, really motivated me to make eventually a personal decision. Since I cannot serve God and the music, with a big M then, I wanted to get rid of that, so I sold my whole music system, and I can say that from that moment onward, I can be more concentrated on more important matters and my spiritual goals in life. And was it not somewhat the same with you? Did you also not have a friend in the congregation?
Well, yes, at school I remember I was under a lot of pressure, because if you wanted to be accepted by the others, you had to act like them. And of course, like everyone else, I wanted to have friends, so it was then that my father encouraged me to look for the company of a pioneer sister in our congregation. And at first I was a bit hesitant to do so, because she's 10 years older than I am. But in the end I took his advice, and she really turned out to be a very mature and reliable friend, and a big support to me during those difficult teenage years.
Yes. So thank you very much for all these nice things, but I have a last question. What is for you the most important feature of the training that you received from your parents? And
well, for me it was the fact that my parents always reasoned with me. So ever since I was very young they did so that I always realized why certain things, certain habits were right or wrong.
and Micha?
Well, although also other persons were involved in surviving my youth, I can say that the example of my mother really showed that the truth is the most important thing in life, because she's now pioneering for 12 years already. So this really shows the truth and nothing else. So her example really helped me to cope with my problems.
Okay, thank you.